What's the single most important solo VO skill to develop? Well, everybody in voiceover has their own opinion on that. But in search of a fresh view, I went and asked somebody outside the VO world, who you might have heard of, to give their opinion. And I got an answer that you might be surprised by. Stick around and find out. The answer's pretty... How you doing, everybody? I'm Andrew Scott, and you, of course, are back at the VO Bootcamp. So, the list of the most important skills you need to develop when it comes to building a successful indie VO career is a long one. And yeah, it seems that there are multiple most important skills. I mean, mic address skills, copy interpretation skills, editing skills, marketing skills, the list goes on and on. Anyway, I don't know which one of them reigns supreme, but I have one that tops my list that I want you to keep in mind when setting your priorities. And I find it so important, I've enlisted a rather famous non-VO person to explain. Sorta. Anyways, we'll get to them in a minute. Now, before we get to that famous person, I want to acknowledge something. And that is that many might think that this answer in this video, comes from a place of privilege. And honestly, to one degree or another, that's true. I mean, we all know that the first few years of your pro VO start, full-time or part-time, you're going to spend a lot of time with lower paying gigs and recording a bunch of stuff that you kind of have to do, to get credits and references, right? Very few people, no matter how good they might be on mic, get to start out doing spots for Chevy, Intel, or Simon & Schuster, yeah? That's probably obvious to you. So yeah, this tip is rooted in the privilege that a bit of career success provides, for sure. Anyway, if you stick with VO at any professional level for a while, earning some level of consistent income, you get to a place in your practice, your business, where you not only get to, but have to decide on what jobs you're willing to take on. Now again, this sounds pretty cushy, right? After months or even years of struggling to get gig work in the door, being able to say, I've got so many opportunities that I have to decide seems pretty groovy, yeah? Well, I'm not here to try to tell you that it's not. I mean, the truth is the majority of indie VO talent don't even make it that far. Hell, 75% report making less than $40,000 a year, and 50% of voice actors report making less than $8,000 a year. The thought of picking and choosing which jobs to take sounds like, I don't know, you've reached the career level where Robin Leach should be describing your palatial private studio and its state-of-the-art soundproof booth lined with sumptuous Corinthian leather. But when it comes down to the growth of your VO career, there comes a point, hopefully, where you'll get to decide. It's safe to say that pretty much a goal. That point on the development curve often coincides with another one, almost like the nexus where the two meet, and it has to do with what you consider yourself first and foremost. Now, we get to refer to ourselves by a lot of different titles in this business, right? Talent, announcer, performer, narrator. In my book, The Quick and Dirty Guide to the Home Voiceover Industry, I mentioned another one early on that you should always consider yourself. A producer. But let's think outside of the box, or the booth, I guess, and look at things a bit more broadly. Now we get to use other words. Words like business owner, principal, owner, operator, maybe even something like entrepreneur. Those all fit too. But if you're watching me on the tubes, and you are because that's where the booth camp's located, you are almost certainly one thing above all other titles that I rattled off just now, and that is a freelancer. Not only that, but creative freelancer. Being a freelancer is honestly your base foundation. I mean, unless you get a W-2 every year working for VOs R Us with 37 other folks sharing one stinky booth that smells like your coworker Stan's tuna salad sandwich or Martha's body spray that leaves behind subtle hints of jasmine and Raid bug killer, you're a solo operator. You make all the calls. It all falls on your shoulders. and hopefully into your pocket. So where am I going with all this, and how does it pertain to your VO career and that supposed famous person? Okay, it's this. In my mind, as a creative freelancer, the number one skill you need to develop is when to say no. So as I said in a previous video, saying no to money is almost anathema to the beginning and often struggling VO entrepreneur. But as I said just a second ago, it's probably the most important thing you can do for your business. Learning how to judge what jobs to pass on, even ones that you technically could profit from, is a bit tricky to master if you're only looking at the money. But let me introduce somebody who, while not in the VO industry, gave some very sage advice to freelancers when I had an opportunity to ask him about it.
Andrew asks, how do you decide when the money isn't worth it for a given job, even a job that's profitable on the ledger? This is wonderful because what you're getting at is there are jobs that you can profit from that still aren't worth it. And that is really true. The reasons a job might not be worth it, it might suck up your shop and not allow you to do anything else for the whole time you're doing that job. And if you have multiple things going, that can be too much of an expense. But really, usually the reason you'd want to turn down a job, even though it seems profitable, is because the client is not a good client. And that's institutional knowledge. That's learning how to smell those weirdos and ferret them out of the woodwork before they have a chance to harm you.
So yeah, jobs that could totally bottleneck your production flow. This was one that I just referred to not too long ago in another video. It could mean having to switch up an established workflow by having to use different mics and setups, potentially interfering with other established clients' consistency or audio continuity. It could be about the sheer amount of post-production and editing that may be involved. Or it could be about messing with your creative flow, bogging you down with stress from a gig that will suck the air out of you and leave you with no inspiration for other things. But yeah, it very often means that, money aside, you get the feeling through institutional knowledge, kind of having been in the industry for a while, that this client might wind up being a giant pain in the ass, no matter what the money's like. That's always a factor.
It also may be that the job is tedious and you don't want to do that kind of job.
Tedium is something that we all have to deal with in VO at one point or another. I mean, any audiobook editor can tell you that in a hot minute. We all go through that. But the point is, as soon as you can get through that phase and can afford to not deal with certain levels of tedium, you might really want to consider not chasing after every penny. That can really help your mental and physical health, and that directly helps your business.
But freelancing is difficult, and it's stressful, and you build a mindset of like, what's next, what's next, what's next? So you may have a nice, big, lucrative job right now, and you're still thinking, yeah, but what about rent 2 months from now? How am I going to deal with that? That is the freelance life. But the upside is you control your schedule. Like, I have never regretted having control over my schedule when I was freelancing. I got to spend tons of time with my kids. My quality of life was really good. I mean, and this is why the whole work from home movement is so important and so vital. And in that, it is totally reasonable to turn down a job that's profitable because you just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Did you hear that? It is totally reasonable to turn down a job that's profitable simply because you just don't want to do it. Truth is, if you keep doing jobs you really don't want to do, it will take its toll on you at some point. And eventually, that disaffection will start leaking into the work. That's not good for career longevity or your body, mind, and spirit. And that all affects your ledger as well. Now, as I said earlier, making a decision in that direction is one of a certain level of privilege. for sure. Yeah, easy for you to say, dude, you've got opportunities. Well, obviously that's true. But at some point, if you stick at this VO thing long enough, you will have to make that call. Look, we all got into this business, this creative industry, for a bunch of different reasons. Some obvious and some not so much. But I'm pretty sure that one of the main shared reasons is that we're creative types and we like to do our own thing. Even if our own thing is at the behest of someone else paying us to do it. I mean, the word's baked right in there. Freelance. That freedom is important to us. But there is a price to pay for it as well. That price might be simplicity of life or predictability or 401k or PTO or, working a bunch of crappy gigs at first to equal the money that someone with more experience earns with just one. But one of the biggies is often financial stability. Learning to suss out whether a given gig or client might mess you, your workflow, your business, your artistry, or hell, your mind and body up is really more important than you might think. No, there's no substitute for hard work. And yes, you need to grind and earn stripes and cut teeth in this business. But constantly looking at life through those rise and grind glasses without taking time to step back, take them off, and assess if you're finally at that place where you can start saying no is a quick path to pain, suffering, and frankly, burnout. So, ask yourself, what's really, truly important to you at your core, your foundation? What's your priority beyond succeeding at this thing? What made you choose to be a freelancer, be it VO or any other pursuit? Your time, your mental and physical health, your creativity, flow? All those things translate to your ledger in one way or another because they all impact the core reason why you chose this independent path. The freedom. And if you're constantly accepting every little job that comes your way, are you actually growing your business? Or are you merely growing tired? As Adam said, being a freelancer is hard.
And, that means that these decisions can feel a lot more emotionally fraught. Turning down money is hard to do. And it's also really important to do as a creative.
But the main reason we chose this is probably not for the fame and fortune.
We seek the freelance lifestyle because it gives us control. Over what? Over our well-being. Seriously, that's what it gives us control over. When you are managing your own employment, you are managing your mental health, and that is one of your assets. And your calmness and your lack of stress are assets that you bring, and you adjust those by the jobs that you take.
We seek the creative lifestyle because it gives us control over our well-being. You will not succeed if your well-being is constantly suffering from taking a back seat to every little nickel and dime job that comes its way. Do me a favor, if you've gotten anything out of this video, either by way of information or inspiration, please do me the honor of the like, click, subscribe thing. And yes, do come hang out with us over on the Bootcamp Discord server, where we can talk about how to figure out whether or not a client is worth it or a job is worth it. And yes, in this very special episode of Bootcamp, a deep bow of appreciation to Adam Savage, my spirit animal, and all the other people over on the Tested crew. They make great content. Go over there, do the like, click, subscribe thing for them as well. The link to the particular video that I'm citing here is down in the show notes. And gosh, see you next time, everybody. I'm Andrew Scott. This has been the VO Bootcamp. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.